Hey everyone, how's it going? I am Xeracon. I am back once again. Today is going to be a very different, very unique video. Today I'm actually going to be putting together a PC. And this was inspired by my friend, the Frozen Gamer 87, from the Orange Box podcast. Now, several months ago, he put out a video explaining, whoops, forgot there was a twist tie here, talking about why he loves PC gaming. And in that video, he was showing comparisons over the different hardware he used from his original gaming laptop to his previous build to his current build. And that kind of inspired me in a way because I thought about, sort of when I started actually gaming on PC. And so that was originally a laptop. But I decided, is it possible? I asked myself, would it be possible to actually build that laptop, make a desktop version of that? So that is essentially what I'm going to be doing today, using components that I've seen and just trying to figure out and sort of Frankenstein the idea together. So what I'm going to be doing is I'm going to be making a PC with a Radeon RX 560, 4 GB model. That's what I had originally. I'm going to also be using a Ryzen 5 1500X. The CPU I originally had was a Ryzen 5 2500U, and there doesn't really seem to be anything that's similar to that. So this seems to be like the closest thing spec-wise. I mean, this has a higher uh, base clock speed and a higher boost clock speed, but for the most part, and of course also has a higher power draw than the APU in my laptop, but this seems to be the most comparable CPU that I could find. So this is 4 cores, 8 threads. Uh, I think that's like, what does it say here? Yeah, 3.5 gigahertz base speed, 3.7 gigahertz boost speed. So that's why I'm working there. So yeah, and then also using 16 gigs of DDR4 RAM. This is 3200 megahertz, but the 1500X only gets up to 2666 megahertz, so it's not going to be taking full advantage of this. Originally I also had, I believe, it was 8 gigs, but then I upgraded to 16 later on. So I'm sticking to what my latest components were. Then also going to be using a 1 terabyte SATA SSD. This is the Samsung 870 EVO. It didn't have it might actually, no, I don't think my model had any NVMe slots, so it was just SATA. So that's all we had. So gonna be using this. I don't really need much space here, so that's why I only just got 1 terabyte of storage. And then I will be using, as far as what the motherboard is, using an Asus ROG Strix X470i gaming. And then for the case, I will be using a Cooler Master, what was this, Encore 100 Air. I was considering doing the max version, but I'm just not that confident in my abilities to properly set up liquid cooling, so I'm just using air. And then, as a result of that, I am going to be using where is it? Oh, here we go. The Thermalright Classic low profile CPU cooler AXP 120 X67. And this is ARGB as well, but I didn't really care if it had it or not. And then just using this Corsair SF850 for power. So yeah, that is I think that's everything. So let's go ahead then and get this started.
What could possibly go wrong?
Whoops. Oh dear. Now, I actually had to go and get several different motherboards because the first time around, even though so when I was originally looking, I actually did have to go and buy several motherboards before I got this one, because when I first went on eBay looking around for, a motherboard to use here, I bought, what was it? It was I think a B550i gaming, and I was thinking to myself, yeah, it's a small form factor uh, motherboard. It should be fine. It supports AM4, but then just out of mild curiosity, and this is something I should have done much sooner. And how in the world do I even get this one out? Huh. I will have to, I guess, just completely disassemble this thing because this is stuck in here. Oh, okay, I guess I really do have to disassemble this thing just to get the motherboard. What was that? Oh, that was plastic on the thing here. Okay. But yeah, I had to buy. I bought the first motherboard. I didn't even realize that the 1500X did not support the B550i, even though, or rather, the B550i did not support the 1500X, even though it's an AM4 cooler, even though it's even though it's AM4, and all that stuff. It just does not support it. So I had to go back and later buy another one. Actually, the first one turns out, even though it said it was, no, sorry, right. It was when I was buying this motherboard in particular. Even though the listing said it was a X470i, when I actually bought it, even though the box also said it as well, it was actually an Intel motherboard. So I contacted the seller and said, hey, this motherboard is not correct. This is not an actual, this isn't right. So I had to send that back and then look again, trying to find the, oops. Yeah, I just want to make sure I have the triangle set up in a line so that I can just drop the CPU in here. It looks like whoever had this before had a little bit of a thermal paste spilling leak issue, but it should be fine. Shouldn't be a problem, I think. Hope. There we go. All right, that was simple enough. And then after I am done with everything as far as, just building it, I'm going to go ahead and do a few tests just to see how games are running. And these are going to be games based on games that I actually originally played on my laptop, so I'm not going to be playing anything like really modern. I mean, I might maybe try one or two things, but for the most part, it's just going to be playing the games that I originally played just to show you all what the type of performance I was getting was, and also to see for myself what improvements are there over the desktop version over the laptop version. There we go. That's better. All right, let's just go ahead and get this out of here so I can get the cooler on. Says to remove the front bracket. So we gotta pull this guy off here. Somehow. It says, oh right, duh. You gotta pull those off first. Duh. I might have known. I can remember how to do it. No, it's like somewhat simple. Oh dear, that did not sound right. This thing is being very stubborn right now, and I don't like it. And the funny thing is that when this first came in, I just wanted to see, what the inside was like, and I had problems with it then too. Oh, wait, here we go. I think it's coming off now. Oh, there we go. Oh, thank you. I hate this thing already. All right, cool. 2 exhaust fans. That's great. That's awesome. All right, so it says I should go ahead and install the motherboard, or at least the case says I should install the motherboard in the case. So like right now rather than installing it later. Yeah, it also says not to install the CPU cooler, which is fine by me. Wait, install the motherboard tray. No, I don't. It's for adjusting the motherboard tray. Yeah, I probably should definitely, as much as I would rather not, it probably would be easier if I go ahead and plug everything into the motherboard, then put it in here, just because there's not that much space in this case here, and that's definitely not going to help later. Okay, put those upside down. Yeah, put those upside down. Like that. Okay, cool, because those just go in there. Alright. That's gonna be a pain. That's gonna be a hassle to get on there. Just for right now, just gonna gradually tighten these in, so like about 10 twists at first, and I'll alternate. And I'm hoping, this will be the last small form factor PC I ever work with. I've already worked with one. That's the computer I'm using right now, and that was a pain in the butt to work with. So at least just to get set up, especially when I had to replace parts like a couple times. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. So I'm just hoping I don't have to go through all that again. I'm working now from now on. It's only going to be full size PCs. Are you insane? You've got to be joking. How am I supposed to screw that in? Oh, there's a slot here. That's nice. Alright, so I'm guessing I'm gonna have to just put it on like that. Now, I know that there's this sticker here. I know. I just want to see right now what the best course of action for putting this on here would be. Yeah, that should work. That should work. Cool, cool, cool. And actually, I wonder if I could do it the other way too. If that would work. Probably might be better the other way just because of the RAM being a bit too high. So I'll leave that alone for right now. Actually, yeah, because I'll make sure I can plug these guys in, all the little ports there. They're going to be nasty to work with. Okay, yeah, so I actually should be installing the motherboard first before everything else, actually. So I'll install the fans, or at least the CPU fans last. Oh no, actually, once we install the PSU first, so that actually should be something I'm doing here. Let me grab the power supply, and we'll do that. All right, so screw this here. So it goes in like this. Oops. Oops. I think that's good. I think that's right. Let me quickly just make sure that there's enough light, or rather, things connected in here properly. Yeah, that's in. All right, well, I actually have this here. I'll go ahead and plug in what I need for the for the motherboard, at least the other parts here. And I'll just have the cable set off to the side. So we've got the motherboard, main motherboard parts here. We've got the CPU, and actually I forgot to mention this earlier, but there's no I don't need a PCIe cable for the graphics card because, as you'll find out, all the power comes straight from the motherboard. That's actually pretty cool for this build in particular. All right, so I'll try to also flip this around so you guys can see what I'm seeing, or at least to the best of my ability. Move that over. Move this over. Move these screws over. So that way nothing gets lost. Alright, cool. So I'm just going to put this guy in here. What's the orientation again they want? Alright, yeah. Oh, yeah. Also, I should grab the IO shield. Just thought about that. I would be very upset if I installed this and did not put on the IO shield. So we're going to go ahead and do that now. Let me screw, oh, there we go, that way around. Oh gosh, yeah, definitely put that on because that does not feel like it's very strong and capable. Ugh. Let me just put it on like this. I really love how we've gone past the points where we have to install IO shields onto motherboards. Unfortunately, with this type of motherboard, still have to install it manually, but I'm glad that now more and more manufacturers are just installing them for us, because why do we need to do it ourselves? I don't know. But it's not too big of a thing, I guess. Alright, let's go ahead and get this guy in here. Yeah, I probably actually should. I'm going to actually go ahead and undo what I just did before. I'm going to unplug these, and I'll just put them back in once I'm done here. Because I thought that I would be doing it a bit different, but it doesn't seem to be the case. That's better. For the most part. Alright, this is still not completely... Oh, there we go. That's better. Nice. Okay. Now, the way this feels right now, I feel like I should probably take this back out, actually, and try to see if I can orient this PCIe riser cable. Because it does seem like if I put this in, it's going to be a pain to get the plug this in, so I should actually... That makes sense. This is tied down. I should untie it. I'll try to see, like, leave as much stuff as tied up as possible, so that way it would be easier for, like, not having to worry about cable management, but it seems like certain things I will actually have to... Wait, am I even on the right side? Alright, so let's go ahead and put this in again. Bump that out of the way. There we go. Oh, did I? Okay, cool. I didn't lose anyone. Let's get these screws in so that way this thing does not go anywhere. Alright. We all good? We all set? Cool. Great. Awesome. So, now comes the fun part. Plugging in. Oh, dear. I should have put that in there first. I should have put that in there first. Yikes. Can I sneak it in? I cannot sneak it in. Yikes. That is... I gotta take that out. Yeah, I have to take this out actually. There's not enough clearance for me to snake the cable in, so I've got to take the motherboard back out. Alright, so I do need to actually get this back in here, like I said. Additionally, I realized as I was also getting other stuff set up, and man, this thing is just so stiff. I feel like if I bend it the wrong way, I will snap a cable. So hopefully that doesn't happen. But yeah, I think if I do it like that, we should be golden. Just gonna get all that around. Can we do that? Will that work? Maybe? Yes, that will work. This guy though is not, does not feel stable. I mean, like the way they had it in here originally, it was backwards. Like, let me go back. Like, I think originally it was something like, okay, now it's not even gonna go back to the way it was before. But yeah, let me see if I can just do it like that. If I can just, there we go. That should work. That should work. That'll do it. That will do it. That will do the trick. All right, cool, great, awesome. Now let's get this guy back in here. But I think I need to plug something in for the power supply because I saw that. Yeah, I do actually need to pull this out so I could plug in one of these cables, which actually serves to connect as the power supply, and it comes out here instead, so that way I can plug it to the wall. So I do actually need to pull this out. So I do need to untie more stuff, unfortunately, but you know, at least I realized this now before I had to plug everything else in. So, you know, minor inconveniences are better than major headaches. This is so weird. I'm sorry, this is just so weird right now because the way it goes in is completely like, it goes in like this, but the power supply, but the cable is just oriented in a weird way. And you might think, well, maybe try it the other way, but no, that's not the way you're supposed to even put this thing in the first place. So let me just see if I can, oh man. Oh great, now this is just like stuck. Yeah, I don't know what they were thinking here. Unless we're supposed to like, cause like the cable is just too close to this exhaust fan. I don't like that. Like they really should have made this go the other way around. Like have it bend at that way, cause that's just weird. And I didn't see this. Yeah, I don't know what they were thinking. All right, I'll just have to try to get to be so close that it doesn't even think about trying to get caught up in the exhaust fan. What were you doing? All right, cool. At least that was easy to get back in. I also made sure to turn the switch on, so that way I don't have any issues later. Like, oh, why is my PC not working? Well, did you turn the switch on? I did not. All right, so I'm back, and I'm really not certain what I even want to do with the power supply because the cable is just so messed up. And I knew that it was going to be in the way of the motherboard, so I went ahead and installed the motherboard. I'm going to try to figure out what I want to do with the power supply after that's in here, just because trying to, I mean, I think I should be fine. Maybe I can just like route everything around it. Oh yeah, I screwed that back in so I wouldn't lose it. Also, I can pull that out. All right. Yeah, let me see if I can plug this in here. Oh man, this thing is just such a nasty thing to work with. Like bend this thing. It's just so ugh. They messed up when they designed this. They did not properly design everything nice and neat. Or reasonable, I should say. Like yeah, as you can see, this is just so tight here. There's just no way to, oh dear, conceivably, comfortably even, just get this to go in there. This is how thick this cable is. I mean, granted, it might work actually. Might work. But still, I actually have to get the cooler in here and everything, so it might be best if I actually just go ahead and just unscrew this again, put that back in, put the cooler on, and then plug everything else in, because it's just, they really messed up with this. Alright, so look at the instructions. It would be best if I go ahead and install the, if I went ahead and installed the SSD now. So, because when I was looking at the directions, it had that, the guide set up for like way later. I'm just thinking to myself, well, everything else is going to be pre-installed in, and where the SSD is supposed to be is right beneath everything. So I'm going to see about, you know, how to get that installed and do that now, so that way I don't have any headaches going on later on. Alright, so I'm gonna snake this around here. Just get that in there. Okay, and it just like latches on there. Alright, so that actually is pretty cool. That actually works rather well. That's out of the way. This will just have to be tied down. I think at this point though, unfortunately I'm gonna have to just go ahead and bite the proverbial bullets. And okay, this will actually work. It'll be a bit messy on the bottom, but it'll work in the long run. Anyway, because I actually do have to screw this in first, so good thing I didn't imply it actually. I did say I want to do it like that. That'll work still? Yeah, that'll work. Bit ugly, but no one's really gonna see all this anyway, so I'm not gonna fuss over it. Alright. Cool, so let's go ahead and get our thermal paste ready. I'm just using the stock stuff that comes with the cooler. For something this low powered, it shouldn't be an issue using this thermal paste. Add more, but it's just not really coming out all that well. I think that should suffice. Don't want to overdo it. Should spread out fine enough anyway. Ugh. Lovely. Lovely little mess here. Yeah, that should work. If not, feel free to flame me in the comments. Oh yeah, peel this guy off, because otherwise we'll have even worse problems. Oof, yeah, that is, yeah, this thing is definitely the, let's see here. Okay, maybe I will have to actually do it in reverse like this. Yeah, that'll work actually, I think. Oh, I should plug this in right away then. Yeah, I should plug this in now. Unplug this here again, and then plug that in, because otherwise I will not be able to plug in the motherboard cable and all. All right, now we can get this on. Figure out what the best course of action for this is gonna be. Without, that might be best, I think. All right, cool. It's gonna be so horrendous, but if it works, I'll be happy in the long run. So now to get this clip on, or both clips really. Now, why is this side, like this looks like it's longer than the other for some weird reason. Now like that is definitely different. Don't know why they included that, but that's not gonna work at all. That will work though. And you are also a large clip. No, you're not. You're the same size as the other one. Where's the other clip then? Oh, there it is. So I'm missing a clip now. Okay, that's not good. Now that's not staying in. Yeah, this isn't staying in at all. That's concerning. All right, cool. Now it seems like it's staying, so I'm just gonna leave that as it is and move on. So we're essentially at the end game now. We just need to plug or get this behemoth in properly, and I think it might be possible to maneuver this in here. I should probably actually plug in everything else that I need to plug in though. No way. Oh right, I forgot. I unplugged this because I changed the cables. Yeah, I changed the cables. All right, now it's time to figure out how to get this monstrosity in here. This abomination. Oof, yeah. Everything's just so tight that I'm just thinking to myself, will this work without damaging? All right, cool. So that's in. Let's screw this in, see if we can push any cables to the side, because we're going to have to. What with the fan being here and all. All right, cool. So that's locked in now. All right, so that actually can get around everything. This is all ugly. I'm not going to deny that. But if I can get the stuff around the fan here, so that way nothing's getting, you know, sucked in or just really shouldn't be here, that'll be what's going to be. So, for right now, actually, let's just go ahead. Oh, dear. That did not stay in at all. All right, why did that not stay in? What did I not do right? Well, did this thing just bend? No way. This thing did not just bend. Alright, so for right now, I think I'm just gonna go ahead and do something that should be, oh no, relatively easier. I hope it's gonna be easier. And that's just gonna be to plug in the, the GPU. Because that at least shouldn't be giving me too much of a hassle. So let's go ahead and pull it out. All right, so here it is. Let me just bring this out here. This is the, let me center this up properly. This is the RX 560. Like I said, it does not require any additional power. You just plug this right in. And so because of that, it really is, I guess you could say, because when I was looking at the specs for this, this was, except with the exception of the power draw, I think maybe there were a few different, like there were a few, no, there weren't any, the shader count was the same, but essentially everything was nearly 1-to-1. So considering the fact that you can just plug this in and go, you know, really seems to suggest that it was easy to like make a mobile version of this card just because of how simple it is. Only one display port, one HDMI, and I think DVI on here, which of course I'm not really using, but yeah, it's really straightforward here. So I'm just gonna go ahead and plug this in. Now, unfortunately, the ribbon cable is actually a bit in the way here, but hopefully it's not too big of an issue. Hopefully this will like work and not get in the way, because unfortunately, again, this thing is just really taut. Oh dear. Oh my gosh, did I finally get in? It hasn't snapped yet. Oh, please click. Please click for me. I think it's clicked. I think it's in. But still, like the way this thing is just... Alright, I need to put in a... put in a screw so that way the ribbon cable doesn't just keep pushing against this, which it is, unfortunately. And this isn't like a big beefy card, so it's not be able to really fight against it all that much. This case is just a complete nightmare. Like, people recommended it, I looked online and, saw different videos on it. But this case is just an abomination. Every time you feel like you're taking 2 steps forward, it knocks you 10 steps back. Yeah, there's like I'm trying to just figure out if there's like a slight curve now if it's like pushing against it. Yeah, so I'm gonna at least keep this in long enough to like do some testing, and then I'll come back and remove the GPU because this should not be happening right now or at all, to be honest. So yeah, let's just go ahead and see if we can get the rest of this together. And I think, as much as I would rather not do it, I'm going to have to unplug this here and flip it around, because I don't think it's really just going to stay in otherwise. And while I would really rather not have the power supply facing the back here and rather have the exhaust, just blowing out of the case, I'm not really left with too many options at this point, and this is just not going to stay in the way it is. So I'm just going to go ahead and unscrew everything here. And oh, what did I do with that one screw though? Oh, there you are. So yeah, I'm just going to put you back there for now, buddy. Yeesh, I am so sorry. You've been through a lot tonight. Unscrew that. Unscrew all these. Plug this. Put this bracket on in reverse and then put that in, because then the main plug will be able to, or should be able to, just like properly go out without having to loop around everything. And hopefully that would also fix all the other issues, because I think that's really the big issue with is that one not staying in, and that's just really just tampering with everything else and set everything else up for failure. So we'll see. That will work, I think. Should work. Hopefully it'll work. Let me go ahead and just quickly do that. But yeah, I would not recommend this case to anyone because it's just not, like I said, it's not working properly. Everything is just either too short or just in the way. It's just blocking everything. And especially the big issue is just that this is a small factor, a small form PC. And so you really want, sure, you're not going to have all the space you would have in anything larger, but you still gotta make sure everything is just like properly aligned. And sure, if I had maybe if I had gotten the Max, because that one already has the power supply built into it, of course, along with the cooler and whatnot, maybe this wouldn't have been an issue, but at least with this model, I just can't recommend it. Cool. Now, like I said, that way works. Now, maybe this is the way they intended on people to build it, but the way the illustration had it, they said to have the exhaust facing outward and not inward. So if this is the correct way, Cooler Master should have done better with informing users. Jeez. This poor screw has been through it tonight. Yeah, now all this, because this has been twisted around now, so it's gonna... yeah, I should really just redo this. Be cool. Alright, so you gonna stay in? And it stays in. We have a miracle, ladies and gentlemen. Alright, so this is all in here. I just have to get all the cables properly lined, straightened out. But everything is in now, so I'm gonna go ahead, put this all in, figure out how I want to get all this. Oh man, this is nasty work. Yeah, figure all that out, and then I will come back later and just show you how we have everything set up. All right, everyone, good news. As you can see, everything is now properly in. I managed to get the wiring all situated, so that's great. Also managed to also get the all like the plating stuff back in here, so that's all good now. All I have to do now is just get this panel on, and then we can go ahead and get the testing started. And so yeah, so like this is all clear here, so nothing's gonna happen with that. So let me just go ahead now and pop that on. Whoops. Should just, there we go. There we are. Just gonna now get it on this side here. There we go. Beautiful. Perfect, just like that. So yeah, so now I'm gonna go ahead and do some sort of benchmarks here, and also nice design here, by the way, so you can see it more. Kind of like a larger Xbox Series X, just like a little taller and slightly longer, I'd say, but design is somewhat similar to that. But yeah, so let's go ahead and start testing some games. All right, first up we have Code Vein. I'm going to quickly make a note and state that on my laptop, I ran most of the games listed at 720p or 900p just to maintain 60 FPS. But since I'm using desktop hardware, I wanted to stress things a bit more by running them all at 1080p as a set standard. can see the graphics settings at the beginning of each segment. So with Code Vein, I'm both disappointed and surprised at the same time. I'm disappointed that the game is experiencing drops into the mid-40s. Lowering the resolution or graphics settings would help, but for the sake of this test, I don't want to lower the graphics settings below what I had before, and as I said, I want 1080p to be the standard for the purpose of this video. But I am a bit surprised that the game had a few moments where it hit 70 plus FPS. But despite that, the frame pacing didn't really allow me to enjoy it too much, but let's move on. Next is Crysis Remastered. This isn't a game that I owned when I played it on my laptop, but I figured I'd try it here just for the memes. Everything was pretty much set to low, and that being said, I'm also disappointed here. The game can approach 60 FPS, but it's not going to stay there. If you're trying to be stealthy by hiding in the grass or engaging in a firefight, the frame rate fluctuates sporadically. Perhaps this is another case where lowering the resolution could help with the frame rate. One thing I should note is that after looking up the system requirements, the minimum AMD GPU is an RX 470, which is more powerful than the RX 560, so technically this is to be expected. Still disappointing just the same. Moving on, here's Monster Hunter World, and boy is the performance here atrocious. The game struggled on my laptop back in the day, and it wasn't even until I upgraded from 8 gigs of RAM to 16 gigs of RAM was I actually able to play the game in the 50s. This, though, is just a mess. I honestly expected better here, even with the higher resolution. Out of all the games I tried, this is the one that I probably would say is arguably the most unplayable. Sure, while the other games so far weren't performing as I would have liked, this one physically hurts to watch. So to end your suffering, let's just carry on. Now we have The Witcher 3, and my goodness was this refreshing. Sure, the settings aren't dialed up, but I'm amazed that the game is running at a near consistent 1080p 60 FPS. This is phenomenal. This is very playable, and I would be comfortable with going through the entire game just like this. So I'm pleased to say that we have our very first successful title. Unfortunately though, disappointment must strike again. Here's Satisfactory, and after playing it on much more powerful hardware, I forgot I even had to play this game on low settings back in the day. Similar to all the other titles we've seen thus far, the frame rate is far from ideal. It can stay in the 40s, but it can also dip into the 30s. Again, lowering the resolution would be beneficial since that's what I did in the past to get 60 FPS, but for this test, that method is being avoided. And here's the nemesis to my Nitro 5, Elden Ring. I made a joke video when the specs list for this was released, and lamented the fact that my laptop wouldn't make the cut. Of course, I was stubborn and wanted to see if I could force the game to run at 60 FPS even if I had to make sacrifices. And when I started playing the game, I could get it running at 60. That is, until I went into the overworld. And coming back to it now, I can't say that I'm surprised with the results. The performance is pretty much the same now as it was then, only this time I'm playing at 1080p instead of 720p. But there is one noteworthy thing that happened here with this game that didn't happen with any of the other games I tested. There are occasionally graphical glitches that I'm not certain if it's artifacting or something else. Maybe the GPU is dying, maybe the graphics drivers need to be changed, maybe the version of Proton I need is different. I don't know. All I can say is that there's a reason why the system specs said to have better hardware, and this clip is the reason why. Okay, 2 more games that I tested. This one was because I wanted to see how poorly the PC would run Unreal Engine 5. I considered trying Clear Obscure Expedition 33, but I didn't want to end up gomaging my computer, so I opted for Palworld instead. This honestly performed to my expectations, more or less. Considering my second gaming laptop, which had an RX 5600M, could only do 60 FPS at best, I wasn't expecting much here. In retrospect, one thing I could have done would have been to turn up the texture quality. That didn't have a noticeable impact on the frame rate when I was playing it before, so I could probably have done the same thing here. But that's neither here nor there since I'm not going to be playing this again on this PC anymore. And lastly, I tried Hades 2, partially because this is a game that I'm currently playing, and partially because I want to know how high the frame rate would be. Obviously, this isn't a demanding game, but since my laptop screen only had a refresh rate of 60 Hz, 60 FPS was the best I could get. And this is another example of my expectations being exceeded. I was anticipating doing about 90 FPS, but the game ran much better than that, usually around 120. This is the type of game that this hardware can take advantage of and have an extraordinary time with, so this game also was another success. Now, there are other games that I could have tried, but I primarily wanted to play the ones that I knew for certain would have pushed the PC to its limits. The CPU didn't really get to do too much in these tests, but the GPU was fighting for its life. This was a nice retrospect to when I really started getting into PC gaming, but I certainly would not want to go back to this level of power. But the first desktop GPU I used, the RX 580, is a pretty good card. All of these games would run well in it, and you're going to get at minimum 60 FPS on all of them. So if you wanted to build a PC using older, cheaper parts, I could recommend that one, but just make sure it's the 8GB model. But that will do it for today. Thank you very much for taking the time to watch this video, I appreciate it. Check out the Frozen Gamer 87's video, Why I Love PC Gaming, which inspired me to build this PC and to make this video. I'll leave it linked in the description. But this was a fun project, despite the setbacks I had with working both with Mini ITX and with this case in particular. And who knows, maybe one day I'll do something like the equivalent of my second gaming laptop and build a desktop version of that. Granted, I will try to do micro ATX at least, because I do not want to do anything that small again. But we'll see, that is definitely something that would be way in the future. So until next time everyone, I am xeracon signing off. Have a good one.